Today we talk about marijuana, but not the kind that you can smoke and get high from. This lowers inflammation and makes your penis work better. That is a benefit that I did not know about, but now I'm super interested because my penis is the most important part of my body and the most important part of every man's body.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, am I wrong?
No, I suppose you're not.
Yeah.
But welcome.
Welcome, Dr. Drew. Thank you. It's another episode of the Swole Patrol podcast. And if you want to be a member of the Swole Patrol, all you got to do, download, subscribe, listen, participate, tweet us at the Swole Patrol on that there Twitter. Today's guest is a man who knows all about the very confusing and nebulous world of cannabidiol, better known as CBD, and it seems like CBD has taken over the health and fitness world. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's into it. But there is still, even for a guy like me who is a believer and who has bought into it, there's still a lot of disinformation and a lot of stuff that nobody knows about. So I'm very glad that we have an expert in the world of CBD. His name is Evan DeMarco. Evan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
omaxhealth.com is the website I can lead everybody to. Just give us a little background on you, Evan, before we get too far down the CBD rabbit hole.
Yeah, I'll give you the 35,000-foot view, but I came over to CBD from the fish oil side of it, and really when we look at the extraction process and what it takes to make legally compliant CBD, the business model was a lot, it was the exact same as fish oil. So working on the pharmaceutical fish oil side for Lavazza and Vasepa, I really got interested in CBD. I was like, well, this is a lot of potential here, and a lot of the basically the metabolic processes and a lot of the things were the same with Omega. So it seemed like a real seamless transition. But there's just so much more benefit. There's so much more potential with CBD. So it's something that I've been playing with for the last couple of years on a research and development side, and just couldn't be happier about the potential for this dietary supplement drug, however we want to classify it right now, and what it can really do for people.
Do we know the mechanism yet? Do we really know what it's doing?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I mean, I just, before we got started going here, I put some CBD, what do you call this, balm?
A balm on.
And Mike essentially started punching me with his Tim Tam, right?
Yes, it's self-massaging machine.
And which stirred up my pain in my shoulder quite nicely. But right now I'm having substantial relief in my shoulder pain.
I'm telling you.
From this. So and I know cannabis generally to be a neuromodulator. Is there some thought that in addition to its anti-inflammatory effect, that this is part of that neuromodulatory effect at least on the pain system?
Yeah, and I think that's really when we kind of look at the whole pain piece of it. It's and really what we're seeing is cannabis being used as an alternative for opioids. The neuromodulator, the neural inflammation, really calming the nerves. So it's interesting, right? I know people who are taking the topical or using the topical, and they're like, I got nothing. I know people who literally they say they can't get through the day without it. So I think part of the part of the research and part of the experimentation that is CBD right now is to kind of create the baseline of a good product, so we understand what the delivery system is, what the dosages is, and then really kind of see what happens in the next couple of years as we move into something a little bit more standardized than the medical marijuana field, which is where this kind of gets lumped into. Yeah,
this is very different, and it's interesting to me because cannabis, the medical marijuana side, the effects on the given individual are so. First of all, they're protean on the given individual, and the intra-individual variation is so fantastic. It's hard to generalize. Like you just said, on the CBD, I'm having a real benefit, but people that have had no effect. So that's sort of consistent with this molecule generally. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? And we look at the full spectrum phytocannabinoids and not just CBD, but the 113 of the full spectrum and what we can do. And I kind of look at it a lot like the Omega business, right? As 30, 40 years ago, it was fish oil. And now we've gotten to the point where we've extracted the EPA, the DHA, the DPA. We're looking at pro-resolving mediators. So I think a lot of the research coming out of it is going to be the same as how do we take these 113 unique phytocannabinoids, pull them apart and put them back together for indication-specific response.
And thank God they're finally beginning to do the research. My God, the idea that we treat molecules as bad or evil is so freaking bizarre to me. But in your product, you actually have a product where it's combined with omega-3. Which particular any particular omega-3 you're putting in there?
Yeah, so one of the things that I really wanted to focus on is kind of addressing inflammation or inflammation resolution. And as we know, it's kind of the root cause of disease. But one of the interesting things about omegas, and we can do a real kind of cursory look at that, is, if you go to your Costco or your, whatever, Sam's Club, and you buy your 12-year supply of omegas for $4, you're getting the really cheap stuff, which is pretty much what we call 1812 crude oil. So 30% total omegas, where the remaining 70% is your pro-inflammatory omega-6, your saturated fat, your cholesterol, all the bad fats, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, the problem is that I think in our society, especially in the modern Western diet, we've got this 25 to 1 omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. So when I created this particular product, I wanted to address that, so that we're using the CBD as well as the omegas to really help with inflammation. So I did a 4-to-1 EPA to DHA ratio at a 93% concentration total omegas.
EPA to DHA 4-to-1.
Yep.
Okay, interesting.
It's also the exact ratio that was recommended to me by my psychiatrist. I don't, as a layperson, I don't know the correlation.
I always thought they pushed the DHA.
And I did too, and I'm sure there's myriad benefits to DHA as well. But he told me, when it comes to mood regulation and dealing with depression, that the bump up of the EPA is particularly beneficial. I wonder how it correlates with what you're talking about, Evan.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what he's going for.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing, right? Is omegas being one of the most studied nutraceutical products in the market. There's it's become a panacea of sorts, right? There's a clinical study to support almost anything. Everything from cardiovascular to eye health to brain health to, if you want your junk to grow bigger. I'm sure there's
I need help there.
Yeah,
I need
Mike's
real
been trying
help
for
in
years.
that
He's
department.
trying to get that balance just right.
Drew needs to shave off a couple inches, but
right.
I just had my penile reduction surgery last week, so I'm a little slow right now.
Well done.
Where does the extra meat go? Because can you donate it like hair to cancer children? Because that's what I need.
I don't know. They just took it, and I'm sure it's now being used for stem cell therapy.
Great.
That's funny.
But so you're saying the omega ratio, the 4-to-1 of EPA to DHA.
I got to go check I'm going to run up and check my fish with my omega-3s.
Is that particularly effective with just the inflammation side?
Yeah, so there was a Yale study that was done on that particular ratio. And again, there's a study for everything on this one, but when I really look at it, I think that that EPA DHA ratio really is a nice piece, and it's interesting, right? Because we start breastfeeding, and breast milk is predominantly DHA. So we really look at DHA as this eye and brain health product, and then all of a sudden we kind of have this vacuum of time where we're not taking anything, and then it jumps to EPA. So to me, it's like we need to have a balance, right? And especially as we look at a lot of the blue light issues people are having, a lot of the vision issues as a result of the screen time, I think having some DHA in there to support eye and brain health is essential. But when we really look at inflammation resolution, kind of getting our body back to homeostasis, the body of literature really seems to support EPA as the driving force behind that.
And then CBD, you mentioned that in some of your commentary that it's psychoactive, and that obviously makes me nervous right away. You're not really are you looking for psychoactive properties? You're looking for anti-inflammatory?
No. And the THC really is the psychoactive piece, where the CBD is not.
Great, that's good news for me. I'm in recovery, and the last thing I want is something that could potentially
alter
alter my inebriate me in any way, even in the slightest.
So we're sort of confused by the whole landscape of CBD. I almost don't even know where to start. Let's just start with topical versus oral. How about that?
Well, let's take it back one step further and kind of look at sourcing and where the stuff comes from. So the CBD that I'm using is industrial hemp that comes from Belgium. And right now, when we look at the legal landscape, right now, for me to sell a product across state lines, it has to be a foreign source CBD from industrial hemp, the stalks and the stems, with THC below 0.3%. So that's where we're getting this. And really what that gives us is this full spectrum of phytocannabinoids, this whole, unique molecule base where we've got a bunch of different things, but CBD by and large represents about 92-94% of that total spectrum. So you're getting mostly CBD. Now, when you take it orally, we seem to have a pretty profound impact on the endocannabinoid system. And really what that does, as we kind of know, is has a whole host of things, as a peripheral nervous system component, sleep, mood, appetite, pain, inflammation resolution, really helping to get your body back to homeostasis.
But I mean, the distance between each one of those things you mentioned is a, biological gulfs of essentially infinity. Difference in inflammatory mechanisms, neuromodulation, mood issues, anxiety. These are entirely different systems. How does it do that? We don't know, as you said. I guess we just don't know.
Well, and that's the thing, right? And we're just scraping the surface of, again, maybe it's like, okay, well, if you're really stressed out, what are one of the things that people do when they're really stressed out? They start to eat. So the anecdotal piece is, it helps people with stress. And subsequently, now we've got an appetite suppressant. Is that the mode of action, or is there something bigger going on there? And I think that's really the challenge over the next couple of years with a lot of the research, is how do we pinpoint what this stuff actually does? The legal part of that is that we really haven't had a lot of research because CBD has been scheduled as a drug by the DEA.
It's crazy.
And now we've got the farm bill that was proposed by Mitch McConnell, which seeks to kind of declassify that, make it legal across all 50 states, and opens up a degree of research that we haven't seen in this particular product. So we're really
that is good news. That is good news.
In the coming weeks and years.
Is there any studies you're looking at that you are excited about?
Well, we're working on one right now. Really when it just comes to stress, and it's, I kind of look at the pace of life, right? That we live, it's just not sustainable. It's funny. I was in Spain last week running with the bulls on vacation, and I'm sitting there in like this corral of people. Everyone's been partying and drinking, and it's like I'm waiting for 6 2,000-pound rampaging animals to come charging at me. And in the middle of all this, I'm stopping to check my email. What the hell am I doing? Really? This is what we've done to ourselves in America. We've amped ourselves up so that we're constantly wired and tired. And there's no reprieve from that.
Well, if I could interrupt, I must say, yes, we've amped ourselves up and we've overstressed ourselves, but you're in a country when you're in Spain that has like a 50% unemployment rate. So what you were doing was acting like an American and preventing yourself from not being a lazy, jobless pile of shit, as opposed to these guys who are just running around partying and living this stress-free lifestyle. So, I mean, which,
by the way, we're mostly Americans running around that ring anyway.
The consequence and benefit to both. I'm sure, yes, I couldn't be in more agreement that the modern American lifestyle probably isn't ideal and it's not optimal, but there is benefit to it, and there is a reason why we do.
Yeah, there's actually a whole body of literature that just came out recently that it's all personality literature that shows that, we used to call it type A personality and hard-driven, stuff like that. Turns out that does not have adverse health impact. What has the adverse health impact amongst people with those features is hostility. If you are a hostile person and also hard-driving, then
Can you separate the two?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so that's where a lot of
maybe with CBD.
Who knows? Maybe that's where the research is going now. Pain is where I'm most interested because obviously the opiate situation is just ridiculous, and I don't know whether it's going to end up being cannabis itself or CBD or some balance between the two or neither. But again, that's sort of where I see the oral CBD thing. Well, the topical. I'm better now with what you put on my shoulder.
I'm telling you, brother.
The anti-inflammatory biology, I just can't get my head around. I don't understand what we're talking about with that. I don't know what the CBD is doing that way. Does anybody even have a theory?
Yeah, there's a bunch of theories on it, but it just becomes almost so anecdotal that we kind of throw this whole endocannabinoid system out there, and we say that it impacts that, and it supports the endocannabinoid system, which by virtue has some inflammation resolution properties. And I think it all becomes scientifically giant leaps of faith, as you said earlier.
I mean, it's the idea, although it's a great euphemism supporting the cannabinoid, the endocannabinoid system, opiates support the endorphin system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what they do. And, antidepressants support the serotonergic system. So it's just, language. But one day, there's no doubt in my mind this will have great therapeutic value. Just no doubt in my mind. It's just a question of where and how much and what circumstances. And what kinds of stuff are you seeing, Evan?
Well, when it comes to stress, I think that's the big one. So the funny thing is, I was literally just I was hauling ass to get here from a focus group on this stress remedy product, where we've had a bunch of participants involved. And one of the things that we're really looking at is,
you have to define for me what stress. What do you mean by the word stress? I don't know what that means. That's not a. It's
not a clinical term, right? It's something that it's everyone's stressed out. So the product itself was called Stress Remedy, and I did that for a couple different reasons. One, anxiety becomes a medical claim, and then you start throwing that on a dietary supplement.
Oh, I see.
You end up with a issue with the FDA. But stress, I look at it in all sorts of areas, right? It's traffic. That's a perfect one. If you live in LA, 90% of your conversations first thing in the morning are about getting stuck in traffic.
Sure.
There's all sorts of good stress, bad stress, but it's just this idea that people are running at this pace of life and they can't seem to slow down. They can't seem to, shut off their brain. Sleep becomes a major issue, right? How many people are suffering from sleep disorders? So the whole concept behind this was to look at the theanine, the L-theanine, the omegas, and the CBD as this multi-mode action to really help quiet the white noise, allow people to be a little bit more focused throughout the day, not carry stress with them into the bedroom at night, hopefully improve some sleep quality and have a compounding effect of that being a catalyst to a healthier lifestyle.
So hold on. Where does the theanine come in? Is that in this particular supplement, or is it in some of your other ones?
Yeah, so the stress remedy it's the combination of the CBD, omegas, and L-theanine.
Okay, Mike, and you and I have talked about that in the past.
I've loved L-theanine. I mean, because we even Drew, I got you into the idea of mixing caffeine and L-theanine to kind of give you a balanced buzz. Because
a balanced buzz.
Yeah, sometimes
spoken like a true drug addict.
Yeah, exactly. I'm always looking for the balanced buzz.
But yeah, I mean, that's a
There's
product.
a hashtag for the show.
Yeah, and that's a product with a lot of track record behind it.
Yeah,
and people have been using that for a while. And I was involved with a drink for a while where I was trying it, and it definitely worked. There's no doubt about it. It was doing something. I had trouble putting my finger on exactly what it was doing, but it definitely in the sort of stress response zone, I would say. Like I was not responding as aggressively to things.
So
and I think kind of the catch or the buzz all for theanine is the calming without sedating, right? So you're maybe just dialing things back a little bit, enough so that you're just instead of a 10, you're amped up to only a 7.
Is there anybody that should not be using these products? We have questions.
I mean, obviously, start with the usual suspects. As anyone who's pregnant, hoping to get pregnant, we just don't know what what effects that's going to have with them. I'd like to say children, but the FDA 2 weeks ago approved Epidiolex, so you've got 200 milligrams of CBD to be used with seizure disorder for kids.
Yeah.
So, that's a tough one, right? I mean, as a parent, would I give this to my daughter? Probably not.
Well, I mean, kids and pregnant women generally, I think long and hard before you put biological agents into them. I'm putting more of the CBD ointment on me.
Oh, good. It's not burning you anymore.
The menthol part is a bit, but I got such a good response.
So let's take a break and then come back and answer some questions on Facebook.
Okay, great. Okay. So we'll be right back. All right, it's summer and dehydration is a very common problem. Even if you don't even realize it, whether you're exercising or lying on the beach, you can get dehydrated very, very easily. And the proper way to stay hydrated is with adequate balance of sodium, glucose, and water. Hydrolyte does this better than any sports drink and certainly better than water alone. Understand, water is just water. It doesn't have these solute products in it. Hydrolyte, in fact, is the best oral rehydration I've ever seen. It comes in great flavors like orange, berry, and lemonade, available in a pre-mixed drink, a powder. I like the effervescent tablets. I wanted to invent that myself before Hydrolyte came around. They got there first. Compared to sports drinks, Hydrolyte delivers up to 4 times the electrolytes with 75% less sugar. Hydrolyte solutions are appropriate for all ages, and each bottle or package includes easy-to-follow dosing instructions. You can get Hydrolyte at Rite Aid or at Hydrolyte.com, Hydralyte, Hydrolyte.com/DRDREW. And for a limited time, our listeners will save 30% of Hydrolyte. It's a great deal. Just click the banner on our website, use the code DRDREW18 at checkout. That is Hydrolyte.com/Dr. Drew, and use the code Dr. Drew 18 at checkout. Hydrolyte.
Welcome back to the Swole Patrol podcast. Our guest, Evan DeMarco. We're talking CBD, particularly the mixture of CBD and omega-3s, as that is what Evan's been researching.
Dude, I'm using all your CBD menthol.
Feel free.
I'm sorry about this, but
okay.
I am. It's had an effect. I'm digging it.
And before we get to
where are you putting it?
On my shoulder.
Dr.
I've
Drew
got a rotator cuff
Dr.
issue.
Drew had been beating off furiously and actually threw out his shoulder.
So I've had shoulders for a long time, and Mike came in and beat me up with this massaging instrument, which we'll demonstrate maybe a little later. At least on Facebook. And then he goes, "Put this on," and I was like, "Oh crap, okay." After the massaging thing, I felt bad, but while you were doing it, I felt good. And then the menthol felt like my skin was burning, and then everything got better.
Nice.
Yeah. So,
See?
Yeah.
You just got to have a little faith.
It's a miracle.
Before we get to questions from Facebook, I wanted to circle back to the omega-3s. What do you think is the main response? What do you think is mainly responsible for throwing most Americans out of whack with their omega-6 to omega-3 balance? I hear a lot of talk about vegetable oil. What are the big kind of contributing factors to us?
Why do we have to supplement, or why is it?
Why is it that we're almost all of us have this terrible ratio of omega-6 to omega-3?
Oh, vegetable oil for sure. Go ahead.
Well, McDonald's.
Yeah. Well, McDonald's used to be,
in a word, it's our diet.
But McDonald's used to be tallow, and that was not as adverse.
Yeah, that became bad.
Yeah.
No, but if you could break it down, obviously, yeah, it's a diet. But what is it? Is it corn syrup? Is it vegetable oils? Is it
all the above?
Yeah.
I think let's rewind 200 years and you look at the omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, and I think around the time, I saw a really cool infographic on this, but it was roughly 4-to-1. Then you fast forward to now, and we're at this staggering 20-25-to-1. And as we move further inland, as we move more to an agricultural cattle, based, diet, you can just start to see the systemic impact of that omega-6 to omega-3 ratio. So even 50 years ago, when we didn't have all the fast foods, we didn't have all the processed foods, we were still going down that road. So I think the further we move away from what we would consider that traditional Mediterranean diet, where it's more of, the fish, the fresh vegetables, all the things that, by and large we consider to be healthy. That's the catalyst. And I always use this story. It's it's an anecdotal one, but my best friend of, 20 years gets engaged since college, puts on a little weight, and decides he wants to try to get in shape for the wedding. So I tell him I'll pick him up in the morning. We'll go to the gym. I'll get him on a program. I walk into the house, and he's sitting on the floor with ESPN on the TV next to his coffee table with a plate of bacon and cheese. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? We're going to the gym. And he looks up to me. He's like, well, it's on the Atkins diet. And I'm like, okay. So, but, all joking aside, this is kind of systemic of this, this bad dieting that we seem to latch on to.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, let's just eat all fat, and that's supposedly going to be good. And although there's potential for those keto-based diets to help with this, when you're eating red meat 3 or 4 times a week, we've got dairy, we've got all these other things. I think really, then you throw the refined sugars and all of that on there. It's just a powder keg for the issues that we're seeing.
Do you want to take a Facebook question?
The first one was actually a woman asking about helping her with her fibromyalgia.
Oh, it'd be perfect. Well, we don't have the data for this yet, but I bet one day there will be. This would be fine.
What is fibromyalgia?
Fibromyalgia. Okay.
I can't even say it.
Fibromyalgia is a syndrome, right? Meaning it's not technically a diagnosis; it's a syndrome. So people go, "Oh, it's not real." No, it is real, and it is disabling pain just generalized in joints and muscles, pain and even muscle tenderness. And I humbly believe myself that it's primarily a sleep disturbance. Every fibromyalgia patient has sleep problems. They will tell you it's because of the pain. But if you really look back, they almost always had a sleep disturbance to begin with. And if you've ever gone a few days without sleep, you did back when you were working that KRX so hard.
Yeah.
Would you get
when I was snorting lots of meth.
Wouldn't you get really achy? Your joints?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I noticed when I was on call a lot, and I would, not sleep for days at a time. I would just get this incredible aching in my joints.
Feels like I have the flu.
Oh my God! And I thought, oh, this must be what my patients have. And then I started looking at it and talking to them, and lo and behold, they all had the sleep disturbance and whatnot. Now, correcting the sleep disturbance, it's a difficult thing because there's often a lot going on. This is often going on for a long period of time. But it can be quite disabling. And I do look forward to cannabis products being useful for that. We still don't know how much. What do you think, Evan?
I couldn't agree more. And you talk about sleep, obviously, and that could be a catalyst for so many different things. But fibromyalgia, my mom has it. And it was interesting, right? I mean, she talked for years about it. This was before it really hit the limelight. And I used to look at her and I'm like, well, you're crazy, right? You just like that general achy, the malaise, like she had the flu. I'm like,
well,
there's nothing wrong with you.
Well, it's also associated with a mood disturbance. So people go, oh, you're just depressed. And to one degree or another, that's why it's a syndrome and not a diagnosis. Depression does figure into it to one degree or another. It makes it worse. It causes it, maybe causes the sleep disturbance. It's sort of an overlap of lots of different complex processes.
Yeah. And that's, at the end, it was, she started taking CBD, and again, it's anecdotal, end of one, but she's sleeping better. A lot of that pain is going away. So it's, I think when we look at the overactive nerves associated with fibromyalgia, neural inflammation, we definitely know CBD has a positive impact on that. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's no clinical research on it just yet, but I think we're definitely going to be seeing some CBD products for fibromyalgia.
I've heard anecdotes of people who are using medical marijuana for it, but then again, short term, who knows long term. Yeah. But I feel much more comfortable with CBD than with medical marijuana.
My question is, with the market just exploding with CBD products, Evan, how do you know what to take and what not to take? What are some kind of keys to look for?
Well, that is the $64 million, or as Forbes put it, the $3 billion question. The CBD looks to be a $3 billion market next year. People go where the cash is at. So right now you have a lot of cowboys popping up. You have a lot of products that are hitting the market where there's no real testing. There's nothing to validate that that's true CBD. There's literally no system of checks and balances. And that's true of the dietary supplement industry at large anyway. But CBD has become the new frontier. It's like the mortgage business, where you just get anyone in and try to make a quick buck.
One thing to watch out for is proprietary blends.
Yeah,
of CBD.
I think that's with any nutritional supplement.
Yeah. What does that mean?
It means nothing. That's the point.
It means that they don't have to. You don't have any. There's no responsibility to list the amounts of what products are within said proprietary blend.
You can put anything in there.
Put anything in there. And even if it's 0.001% of the proprietary blend, you can put that ingredient in. Oh, wow. And so a lot of people do that. I mean, you see that a lot with like bodybuilding supplements. They'll say proprietary blend, L-taurine and creatine. Little do you know as the consumer that it's 98% rice starch and half a teaspoon of the stuff that you really want.
That's sort of
Don't
typically.
They have to put the biggest ingredient at the top?
That's in an ingredients list.
And by the way, proprietary blend by volume could be a huge ingredient, right? Because it's all the rice starch in there. So
you hit on my biggest pet peeve in the dietary supplement industry is proprietary blends. And for the most part, all that stuff is packaged at the same spot. It's it's just private label. It's 50 shades of the same thing, and so people are trying to protect IP with proprietary blends. But it's as a consumer, do you really know what you're getting?
No, never.
The biggest issue is if you've got a medical problem, how do you look to a product that you could be taking as a catalyst for that? Well, hell, I don't know what's in this. It's a proprietary blend. Yeah. So, and that is the biggest injustice that we're allowing right now for consumers is the labeling of proprietary blends on a product.
All the time we're doing this podcast, we've not really discussed that.
I know,
which is weird because I know both you and I have discussed it privately many times.
But you and I are both, I don't want to say anti-supplement, but we're not big on it, so it doesn't seem to be a topic of conversation.
But I think it's important for listeners to know that they look for that catchword. Be careful if somebody's giving you a proprietary blend. We immediately back away. Laura, what else do you have, Susan?
Do you think CBD would suppress the pain in my already twice operated on low back pain and get me off those ineffective opioids?
Well, first of all, get off the opioids. I mean, bottom line, get off the opioids and see what you got. Because 6 weeks later, you may not have pain, or maybe nominal. Certainly, this couldn't hurt.
Yeah.
But I think most people, we don't know. Most people are looking towards more of the medical marijuana for pain, aren't they, than CBD? Or am I wrong there, Evan?
No, and in fact, I was at a medical conference about 6 months ago, and we're really looking at CBD as an alternative to opioids, or even a complement to them, so we can start to decrease dosages and supplement. There we go with that word again. With CBD to kind of achieve the same benefit with the long-term goal of pulling people off opioids. So, when we look at the opioid crisis in America, I think CBD has taken a position as an alternative to that, and a possible, maybe even fix to, the daily prescription and daily use of opioids.
Just the fact, I know by the language you just used, the way that organization was presenting getting people off opiates, I never had trouble getting people off opioids ever. We had them off in 5 days. Their pain was 15 out of 10 when they came in, 4 to 5 out of 10 when prompted after a week or two. So the idea that, eventually we got to get them off the opiates, that's a bizarre thought to me. Get them off now. It's no big deal. Anybody can tolerate it. We never worried about it.
Well, and I'll chime in as the drug addict here, as not from the scientific side of it. Getting off drugs is really not that big of a deal. And
it's hard.
No. It's hard.
Yeah.
Staying off them
that's the big deal.
Is incredibly hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. But going in, getting medical treatment, and getting those drugs out of your body, trust me, it may come to the average person that is just dabbling in opioids or gets a prescription and now they don't know what to do. It may seem like something that's very daunting. Getting them out of your body, not hard, not a big deal. Now, I will be the first to admit, staying off drugs, incredibly hard. Incredibly hard.
And especially when you have pain, too.
Yeah.
So that's the point at which things like CBD could really be helpful. So
here's a good one.
Okay.
I'm a strong advocate of CBD oil.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, it reduces my anxiety and gives me a great night's sleep.
That's interesting.
I also give it to my dog for anxiety.
Oh, there's a big veterinary.
I've been seeing that a lot, man.
We did it too.
I was thinking about giving it to Rex.
They push it at my doggy hotel, and I was like, I'm totally into this. I was like, how much is it for that product? And they told me, I was like, never mind, I'm totally not into this anymore.
Let's just figure out a dose for our dogs.
Oh, we're ready. This dog is he's so adorable, but he's so anxious. Okay. When I first took CBD, it gave a buzz as an addict, alcoholic. It made me want to keep taking it. So to get that buzz, so I stopped taking it as per doctor's orders.
Okay, good. So there we go. This is the stuff that worries us.
Yeah, what's with that? Because I will say this, I don't want to start naming companies for good and bad reasons, but I've fooled around with a couple different companies and their CBD, and one in particular, I don't want to say it gave me a buzz, but I was like, I think I'm being goofy right now.
Well, but mind you, you don't know how much CBD is in the product.
Right, but okay, here's my question for
THC.
Evan. Even if it's a tremendous amount of CBD, is there a level of amount of CBD that you can take where it becomes somehow inebriating?
Interesting.
No.
Okay, good. Okay.
So it must be the
THC. And this is where it comes back to the manufacturing, is that people say they're just launching CBD products or they're introducing CBD products, but without a testing protocol in place to actually validate what's in there, you have no idea. So when it comes to actually looking at a product, people, if you want to get into CBD, you need to be with a reputable company who can provide you with the adequate test results to show what's in there. And that's, I can't say CBD water. Someone sent me a sample of CBD water. I'm like, all right, this is fine. I took it. I was stoned to bejesus.
Really?
I'm like, this is not CBD. This is straight THC. Like, I took it and I was like 2:00 in the morning at 7-Eleven looking for nachos.
How does that sounds...
I'm telling you, Drew, it's the same way that I used to buy GHB at like supplement stores. It's just, it gets in there.
They sell it at the 7-Eleven now.
GHB or the CBD water?
CBD water, yeah.
No, but I'm saying it's the same mechanism that the THC gets in there. It's the same way that I used to go buy a legal supplement, and it was GHB. Like, I knew. As soon as it got in my system.
You'd mix it up.
Here's a good one for you, Drew. So will it help me get off Ambien so I can sleep? My doctor won't just take me off.
Well,
and I sleep, eat, and I'm scared, and I need something to help me
sleep.
And help with your grammar.
Yeah, right. So with the way these controlled substances are being carefully monitored now, you will have difficulty remaining on the Ambien. So the system is now finally in place that prevents this from going on indefinitely. That's a good thing for your health. So you do need to come up, but it needs to be done carefully with your doctor's supervision because you can have seizures, but you will have a sleep disturbance for up to 6 months. And something like CBD and melatonin, all this stuff, very good in this stage of the game once you're fully detoxed.
Evan, is there any conditions or any certain type of people that CBD is not for? I know we've already gone over that.
Drug addicts.
Yeah, or is there some
Pregnant,
seizure disorder, or is there
any what we call contraindications? Any contraindications yet?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Because it always comes back to the data. What's been studied? What are those contraindications? What are we seeing? I typically think, Ambien, any type of sleep product, that's probably a definite no-fly zone until that stuff's out of your system, or at least till you're working with your doctor to come off of those products.
That's actually that's good advice because you don't know. Together, Ambien's enough of an amnestic agent by itself. Together, who knows? You drive intoxicated in the morning, don't know you're doing it. Right? Who knows?
Yeah, or it just as you said, it's like not even in the morning. It's like you get up at 2 a.m. and it's like go take the car for a joyride. So, like we've all heard those horror stories on Ambien. Yeah. So that's definitely one that I would kind of stay away from. Is anything that's sleep. One of the things that we don't know is any of the antidepressants, how it really impacts those. So if you're on antidepressants, whether that's like the Wellbutrins or the anything like that, there's just not enough research, there's not enough data to support that it should work well with that. So I think any of those are probably a good no-fly zone.
Well, and it's a great point. I mean, you could certainly bring it up to your prescribing physician and say, "I'd like to try this. Do you think it'd be useful?" But don't do it on your own. Don't. Really, we shouldn't be taking anything on our own for a therapeutic effect like mood or we should be working with whomever's treating you. So
that's one of my pulpits, and I'll jump on that real quick. Is the dietary supplement industry has gotten to the point where it is because we've got so many people promoting these products who have no basis whatsoever for doing it. So it's your mailman, your neighbor, the internet. We've got a lifetime of bad health and wellness decisions, and we think that this supplement and this kale smoothie are going to offset all of that.
Right.
I think dietary supplements have their part, but they have to be done in conjunction with, qualified medical advice and usually diagnostic tests that would say you're deficient in this. This is what you should be taking.
Yeah. That's a really, really good piece of advice, and I'm glad you brought that up. I oftentimes when you hear people talk about CBD, inflammation comes up, mood and sleep. It's always thrown in that same ballpark. You bring up something that I've never really heard talked about, and that is sexual performance. How especially with your mixture of omega-3s and CBD, how have you found that to be beneficial in the bedroom?
I have no science behind this whatsoever except my N of 1. But, I started taking this particular product. And again, we know the cardiovascular benefits of omegas. Maybe it's the combination of the three. I don't know. But I started taking it, and all of a sudden I was suffering from a clinical issue that I called myself, or I patented myself, called RBD, or random boner disorder.
Nice.
It was like I'm 13 watching Baywatch again. Like, what the hell is going on here? And it's weird because I take a lot of dietary supplements, but then when I started taking this, it was just one of those like, whoa, okay, there's that. So, it's definitely one of those. I don't know where, if it's the endocannabinoid support. I don't know if it's just the omegas, and maybe I have some atherosclerosis. I have no idea, but. I'm not the first person that said that. I'm certainly, but I will say yes, it had an effect.
So it's just anecdotal stuff.
I love that.
How about for women?
No, I haven't had any response. Actually, that's not true. I had a woman this morning at this focus group who said that her libido, especially first thing in the morning, has gone through the roof. So I don't know. Maybe it's just a better night's sleep. There's a whole slew of things that could come out of sleeping better, as Drew just said. So we'll send you some, and you guys can test it out.
Very interesting.
Just what I need.
Just what you need, Susan. And omaxhealth.com is where we can lead people for more information about you and your products. Anywhere else that you would like us to lead the listeners?
That's a good spot, and there's a bunch of blog posts on it. There's a ton of content there. So as we talk about CBD, my big thing is. It's not for everybody. Do the research yourself, talk to your physician, and find out if it makes sense for you. And, again, a lot of physicians are going to be skeptical. A lot of people are going to say, no, that's not. But, just go into it with an open mind and recognize that, your expectations have to be in line with what it is that you're
taking. And this is an evolving field. There's more to be revealed. It's going to be something. Keep your eye on it. But mostly what I learned from you today is make sure you're getting CBD. And where is that posted on your website?
So again, there's Omax Health in there, and then you can actually, if you go omaxcbd.com, you're going to get a whole lot of data on there, and that's everything from the analysis that you're going to see all the test results, so that you can really corroborate. That this is a valid product, that your THC levels are where they need to be. Yeah. So there's omaxcbd.com is a great wealth of information.
Will there be a pure CBD one day? Just strictly CBD?
There are isolates at this point. I hate to sound a little granola on this one, but I really think that the inherent benefit is the full spectrum phytocannabinoid. It's when we start isolating things, again, we don't exactly know what they're going to do. So until the research comes around that says, yeah, maybe CBD, and Epidiolex is a perfect example, right? I mean, that's straight CBD used for childhood seizure. Yeah. So what does that do specifically? We don't know. For general health and wellness, the full spectrum is good. And then as we start to realize what these things can do, we can pull out the unique phytocannabinoids and put them back together.
Great. Thanks for walking us through this. Appreciate it. It's very confusing.
Evan DeMarco, omaxhealth.com. That's OMAX health.com. Also, omaxhealthcbd.com. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Just Omax CBD.
omaxcbd.com.
Can I read one more mention on
Absolutely.
Facebook?
Yeah.
It's kind of a good one from Deborah. I'm a poster child for the success of CBD for coming off Lyrica, pain control, sleep improved, depression, anxiety, etc. I no longer, is this maybe menopause too, you never know. I no longer take any prescriptions, and I'm only on CBD, and it actually assists in coming off all those awful other drugs and helping with withdrawal.
Interesting.
There was a time when I almost bedfast. Now I'm getting me back.
Have you seen all the stuff on NAD and withdrawal now too?
Almost
bedridden.
Okay.
But there's another whole interesting field of this NAD stuff now for withdrawal, which is changing the oxidative properties of the cells. A lot of interesting stuff going on right now.
Interesting times, man. Yeah. Evan DeMarco, thank you so much, dude.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was awesome.
Our pleasure. Thank you. Well, you've heard me speak about the supplement Bergamet for about 2 years now, and most recently their sport formulation, which helps reduce inflammation, shortening workout, muscle recovery time. But I want to come back to the formula that originally got me excited about the brand. That is the Bergamet Mega Plus. Yep, the Mega Plus O uses key extract from the bergamot citrus fruit. It's a unique fruit, extremely rich in polyphenols. They've been shown to reduce the risk of heart disease, polyphenols. And Bergamet Mega Plus O works like a natural statin, right? For these medications you use to lower cholesterol. Well, this works in precisely the same way. In addition, though, it addresses another condition called metabolic syndrome, which is abdominal fat, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, high blood pressure, insulin-resistant metabolic syndrome. It helps with that. It also helps with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Now, physicians can recommend different pharmaceuticals for these conditions, but Bergamet Mega Plus O offers the all-natural solution. Cardiologists and physicians worldwide do recommend Bergamet. Its effectiveness is the subject of many scientific publications. I've taken it myself. I have recommended it and have patients on it right now. And for a limited time, Bergamet is offering our listeners 25% off any of the supplements by entering the code DRDREW at checkout. That is Dr. Drew, all one word, at checkout. To learn more, visit bergamet.com. That is BERGAMET, BERGAMET.com. And remember that use that code Dr. Drew at checkout. It's not clear what you're doing. So what is this device? Explain to Facebook Live.
This is the Tim Tam.
Yes.
It's a self-massage kind of rolfing.
It's quite incredible.
Machine.
So it's what I was talking about.
And Drew was skeptical, but then I rocked you with it.
Let's do it again. I've been feeling a little better since we last did it. And I've got that CBD balm on there now.
There's a lot of these products out there. I've seen one called the Ray Gun, and I'm not...
They're all the same, right? It's just a matter of what the power.
They're all the same, but this one's $300 or $300
go
something.
More right there. Oh,
and the closest one I've seen is like $700-800. Some of them are well over $1,000.
Really?
Yeah. So
oh man.
And this one has more travel than the other ones.
Go
I've
into
seen.
the scapular muscles again. No, yeah. This is really. What's going on down there?
buddy. Woo!
You can use this for a cough, too. It's
like
a pulmonary toilet, they call it.
I wonder how it would open up the vag muscles.
Okay. Go up to the neck, because now the neck's compensate. Oh, Jesus. It's not for the, like...
Faint of heart.
No, this would be like, for an elderly patient, this would not be good.
Yeah, I know. And Bianca has, like, these really gentle magic wand type things.
Yeah.
It could double as a vibrator.
Yeah.
This is not what we're using.
No.
This is like a Sawzall.
Yeah.
But it has a ball on the end.
That's exactly what it is.
You know?
It is a Sawzall, right? Yeah. It's literally what it is.
Yeah. This one has more travel than the other ones I've seen, as far as how far back the actual rod goes. But I do not receive any kind of financial support for this or have any financial interest in Tim Tam, but I do recommend it. It's called the Tim Tam, and it's battery powered. You don't have to worry about a cord or anything.
You have to charge it?
Yeah, I charge it.
I mean, so it recharges, rather.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. It's got to be. It's just a repurposing of a Sawzall.
Yeah,
right.
Really well engineered too. It's not a rinky dink machine.
Excellent.
But man, if you're a hard training person, that CrossFitter, MMA fighter, something like that.
It stirs up. It stirs it up for a while, then it feels better later.
Jiu-jitsu guys and gals, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like your neck and your joints are always just so wrecked from having people wrench on them. And this thing is it's a godsend. It's a godsend. And I use it on my asshole.
And this was the CBD oil you had me use, or balm.
Yeah,
there's oils and balms. What's the difference? Who knows?
But that's a muscle balm. I also take the CBD orally from that same company, and I like it. I've found it to be.
Oh, you take it orally?
I do.
Huh. Interesting.
They have a spray. It's a lavender spray. It's dope.
Front of your tongue?
No, I spray it in my mouth.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh.
Interesting.
I spray it in my mouth like man paste.
So, you want to talk about diet for a minute?
I do. How is your diet going?
So, yeah, it's been great. I'm doing I've modified the carnivore thing a bit.
Modified how?
Eating vegetables. But
just
last
veggies
night,
though.
Yeah,
nothing starchy.
Well, carrots, that kind of beans.
That might fall. Beans. That's not a fucking vegetable.
String beans.
Okay,
string beans. And some legumes and some some almonds and some macadamia nuts.
Yeah.
Okay. But I've not really brought the carbs back, and I've been afraid to. But I can tell it's sort of plateauing a little bit in terms of the benefits I've been getting. So I've been.
Well, that's why, because you probably introduced legumes in particular. I mean, it's just it's a useless food.
Well, the dietitians always go, "How come you don't take your legumes?"
Yeah, and dietitians also tell you to have an 80%.
Can he have cauliflower?
Of course, cauliflower is one of the best.
See, I told you.
Yeah, but he may not like it.
No, she wants me to eat these cauliflower pizzas, and I'm looking.
That's different, Susan.
Yeah,
that's not what you asked.
There's no flour in it. It's just
that's
cauliflower
not true.
crust.
I look at those crusts. I'm like, that is flour.
No, they're not. I looked at the ingredients.
I've seen many cauliflower crust pizzas, and a lot of them have like some rice starch or rice flour.
I'm going to call Pizza Boy and ask him.
Okay. All right. They got to have something that holds it together, and that's the rice starch or the. All right.
I've made.
And
cauliflower rice and cauliflower crust pizza. I made it at home, like from scratch,
and it falls apart.
And
yeah,
and it turns into a cauliflower soup. It turns into cauliflower pizza soup.
Okay,
I'll
call him and make sure.
Yeah. So I tasted it, and I was like, oh, I think this has got starch.
No,
but anyway, but it may be time for me to have some starch in there. That would not be a bad way to bring it in, by the way.
Yeah, it's just listen. I am not a keto or die guy. I like the idea of people switching to a more high fat diet. And steering away from being completely glycogen dependent.
Yeah,
I totally am there. I'm not this.
You're not Vinny.
So many people are like absolutely keto or die, and for the lion's share of people out there, if you're just the everyday folk who wants to live a little healthier and have a little more pep in your step, I think a ketogenic diet is fantastic. But far too many people are adopting it that I think shouldn't be. People that are high level athletes, people that are. People who are, athletes in general, I think it's a real dicey one. Now, endurance athletes have seen a lot of great benefit, but that's pure endurance. Anything that involves any type of explosive movement, and I
know people are worried about the fats and stuff. I had my cholesterol checked on the hardcore carnivore diet. My triglycerides never been lower.
Yeah.
I mean, never. My HDL never been higher. which
that
is desirable.
Also in the category of things Mike told Drew and he wouldn't listen to.
And LDL, my LDL was pegged right where it always is.
I said dietary cholesterol has absolutely nothing to do with raising systemic
triglycerides should
sometimes, but in the absence of shitty carbs, it doesn't seem to have an effect.
And also, not just shitty carbs, but also where your body's distributing adipose seems to hormonally affect all this. That's my suspicion about this. When you have the metabolic syndrome, particularly like I do. But so now I'm contemplating bringing carbs back in. I can tell it's kind of tight. I had a huge thing of vegetables last night and fish, and I was not hungry this morning, which is unusual in this diet. Usually I'm hungry in the morning.
You had some wine too.
Yeah, I had some wine last night, and I thought, that's maybe that's the.
Well, you're introducing carbs.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, should I? I mean, I can go for the carbs. That's me.
I don't see that as being the realistic way to do. I like to steer clear of extremes in any.
Okay, but so
way.
bring the carbs in through vegetables.
Well, starchy vegetables. Like, if you're going to introduce carbs with starchy vegetables,
like carrots, that kind of thing,
and sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes is a
cauliflower is a straight.
Cauliflower is it's cruciferous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Somebody said that egg holds the crust together.
Oh,
maybe
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to call Pizza Boy.
All right, good.
Some of them on the ingredients, they put it on the website.
All right.
Some of them say rice flour and some of them don't. So.
All right. Well,
I'm not a skeptic. Whenever I don't have an eye on exactly the ingredients, I'm always reticent to just go in full bore because
it is weird once you get going with these diets. I get a little phobic of screwing up how good I feel and stuff. It's very weird. But I do feel like some cyclical carbohydrates is probably the right thing. I just don't know how to do it.
I think that what Mario Di Pasquale was doing Dan Duchesne and Mario Di Pasquale were years ahead of the game with cyclical ketogenic diets, and they have very, very controlled, very calculated shifts and phases of when you would introduce really high levels of carbohydrates and then back off it again to help your body regulate its own hormones and start to use, as of now, you're using this absence of blood sugar and insulin to your benefit, but injecting yourself with it also has benefit too,
So I should have a pasta meal or what?
Again, but then you got to do it in a way that's regulated as far as like with Body Opus or the Anabolic Diet.
See, I don't think I would have a problem if I had a meal that was high in carbohydrate.
But then you'd have to wait another 7 days to do it again.
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
The thing.
Oh, maybe 2 weeks because otherwise I'll start. That's all. To me, doing it 1 day a week is chipping.
Yeah.
I'll start to slide every 2 weeks. Okay, but is it 1 weekend of carbs or 1 meal of carbs?
Well, that's the Anabolic Diet was 5-2 with 5 days.
But I was reading about it. It's just like so it's having a cup of oatmeal and some toast was
or having bagels with jelly.
But that's not how much that's not a pasta meal.
It gives you pretty detailed.
All right.
The Anabolic Diet itself. Now there's a lot of lazy man internet bullet points about the Anabolic Diet, but if you really want to dive in, you got to buy the book and read it. And
all right.
Body Opus is very clear. It's Lyle McDonald's Ultimate Diet 2.0 and the Body Opus are the two. If you're really committed and you're saying like, I want to take this to the next level, I'm
not sure I want to take it to the next level. These are all. I'm generally doing half measures. I'm not going all the way to the mat, but doing a half measure. What would that sort of look like without having to measure everything for a week? I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But the guys at MindPub seem to think that I thought I was hearing them say that. That was the name of that podcast, right? Yeah. I think I heard them saying that they were going to go on for a week of carbohydrates. Right? Isn't that what he was saying?
Now you got to remember those are really highly trained athletes.
Yeah.
And these are using pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
Those are big, strong boys.
Okay.
And that's another mistake I see a lot of people make. They blindly adopt a certain really extreme diet, or they'll adopt principles espoused by someone who is a high-level athlete, whether it be a basketball player or a bodybuilder. And what works for someone taking growth hormone every day and 1,000 milligrams of test and DECA.
I feel like anything would work for me if I did that. By the way,
a lot of people think that it's not as cut and dry as a lot of people. So many internet pussies love to go on there like, yeah, if I was on as much steroids as him, I'd look like that. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Trust me. Yeah. Mark Bell, he takes a lot of steroids.
Yeah.
None of you are going to look like Mark Bell.
Yeah.
It takes fucking years and years of incredibly difficult training and monitoring your diet and regulating. And it's just like the same when I hear women talk about like, I don't want to start lifting weights because I don't want to bulk up. It's like, oh, like that's just going to happen? Like you're just going to pick up a weight and all of a sudden your muscles are going to explode out of your body because it doesn't take everyone else on the planet years and years and years of dedicated.
And by the way, those are people taking male hormones that you don't have.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Everyone shut up.
Right.
But, I think for someone like you said, you're not willing to measure your food and go all. If you're going to go half measures, start introducing carbs in a way that you would have a more regulated lifestyle so that you would get to the point where you're every day eating 100 to 150 grams of carbs.
Well, every day. No, I'll lose control. I'm more interested in living a healthy lifestyle, as you say, and not optimizing it. But
right. No, what I'm saying is instead of looking at it's like, I'll just eat a ketogenic diet and then once every 2 weeks I'll have a pasta meal. No, how about every day of your life you have a sweet potato and a bowl of oatmeal?
I heard you, except what I'm telling you is because the way my brain works, I could slip.
So don't do it. So eat steak and veggies for the rest of your life.
That's what I'm doing, but I get a feeling because there's so much of it plateaued. I think I was taking too high calorie, and that's been one of the big problems. I talked to Kate Shanahan about that.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Another thing, don't let any listen to me. Listen to me, everyone, and everyone watching. Don't let any dipshit internet guru, former fat fuck who lost 180 pounds, and because it's like, look at me, keto diet saved my life. I was 540 pounds, and now I'm, just moderately man-titted. Don't let anyone convince you that calories don't matter. Yeah. That just because you are eating a low-carb diet or just because you're paleo, you could eat till you're full and it doesn't. No matter what, overall intake and consumption always matters. When it comes to body weight, body composition, there's a lot of factors. Body weight, if you eat less than you burn off, you will lose weight. If you eat more, you are going to gain weight.
And
end.
Kate Shanahan was telling me that most of the ketones that your brain needs to use when you switch to ketosis, ketotic sources, really comes from your own adipose tissue, not so much from dietary intake, which that was interesting. So you always have to be kind of delivering a certain amount of fat. You may be replacing it, but you have to deliver a certain amount out of your own adipose.
By the way, most people are not on a ketogenic diet that think they are. Yeah. Most people are not on a ketogenic diet. A traditional ketogenic diet is like 85-90% fat with very low protein. Very low protein. High protein intake kicks you out of ketosis. Now, that's not to say that being on an extremely low-carb diet with high protein doesn't have its benefit. In fact, I think what they call a moderate ketogenic diet, which is higher to moderate amounts of protein added into a low-carb diet, that is actually much more beneficial to the lion's share of people. But don't go around saying like, oh, I'm keto, bro, when you're having 250 grams of fucking protein every day. That's just not how it works. Thank you.
About having more than that.
There's no problem in having more, but just don't think that you're in ketosis.
Yeah.
You're not.
I felt like I went into ketosis in the first week.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. But if you're eating like Dr. Baker, you ain't in ketosis. And you best believe Dr. Baker ain't in ketosis because he has 500 grams of protein every day.
Yeah.
And a traditional a medical ketogenic diet, we're talking like 25 grams of protein. And 10 grams of carbs, and 3,000 grams of fat.
How do you find 10 grams of carbs? It's like a
from
Tic Tac.
The negligible amount that's in coconut milk and steak.
Doesn't salt have sugar in it too?
No.
Not real salt. Maybe bullshit salt. But
soy sauce does.
Well, that's not salt.
Right. I know.
Soy sauce.
I was just thinking about salt.
All right. Well, good. So there we are. Let's wrap this thing up.
I always have to have my tidbit of information. Okay.
I did the newfangled narcissist-driven ask me a question thing on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
And I got so many people that wrote that they love Swole Patrol, and I see the numbers starting to grow, and I see the support. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and thank you to everyone who listens and to people who are helping make this thing go. It couldn't have started more organically. Drew and I talk about lifting and eating right every moment that we're not on the radio. Well, I mostly talk about Drew's dick. We rarely talk about Drew's dick when we're not on some type of broadcast. Yeah. It's usually on the air. But off the air, we were talking about it all the time, and it just was something that we decided to do. And so thank you to everybody, and hopefully it continues
can people, to grow. Is there a contact list people can get on to send a message?
drdrew.com/contact.
All right, send the contact there, and we will try to take your questions.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Hey, everybody, it is the Swole Patrol podcast. You can find me on Twitter at Mike Catherwood, and Dr. Drew is at Dr. Drew, of course. Join the email list today. Send your questions, drdrew.com/contact, and put Swole at the top of the email so we can get your comments. And this will get you a weekly email reminder with a link to this show and all the great shows that Dr. Drew and I do, and all the shows that Dr. Drew does by himself, and, of course, with Adam Carolla, the great Ace Man. Please tell a friend and subscribe on iTunes. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars. And on Podbean or Google Play. All 3 help us out. We also are on YouTube/Dr. Drew, and hope you can give us all your comments, even if you're a troll and you want to destroy our feelings and our emotions. Support our sponsors and the show. Click on the banners on drdrew.com for the links to products for special discounts for the products Dr. Drew and I endorse 100%. Send questions and comments to our Facebook page, facebook.com/Swole Patrol Podcast, or on Twitter at Swole Patrol Pod. Also, browse drdrew.com for the This Life podcast that I co-host on occasion, and all the other shows available like Adam and Dr. Drew and the This Life podcast. A lot of great stuff. Don't forget to check me out on K-Rock in the mornings on the Kevin and Bean Show. And be good. Be swole. #Swole Patrol.